On the south side, South Park, Sunnyside. On the northwest side, Acres Home, Independent Heights, Denver Harbor, Manchester Place. Neighborhoods that have been looking the same for decades. Underserved, under-resourced. For decades. Houses, seniors living in houses that need to be repaired, or in some cases torn down and rebuilt. More affordable housing needed to be built. Better parks and green space. We need more protection, public safety important, infrastructure, neighborhood schools needing to be improved, neighborhoods within our communities that have been looking the same for a long time. And so when I came in, I said, not enough grocery stores, food deserts in the fourth largest city, in neighborhoods. Certain communities got the very best grocery stores. In other areas, you got to catch what you can, where you can. And I said we wanted to turn those things around. So we started focusing on what we call complete communities. Because I don't care where you live. If you're in Northeast, if you're in Northwest, if you're on the South Side, you want the same thing that everybody else gets. You want quality grocery stores. You want parks and green space. You want affordable housing. All of those things, safe communities. So we started focusing on complete communities. It was interesting when Charles spoke about A&M, and the focus was on sustainable communities. Well, complete communities that we put forth says we want to leverage resources, not just resources from the city of Houston, because if you just leave it up to the city, we don't have enough. But we need to partner with others outside of the city of Houston, city government, financial institutions, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, developers. The list goes on. And I've asked them to join with us in providing resources to build up these communities that have been underserved and under-resourced. Not to force people out, but you want the improvements and you want to be able to stay in your communities. And so we're focusing on complete communities, sustainable complete communities. Because you don't want to do something today and then 5 years from now, you're back to where you were 5 years ago. Sustainable complete communities. And so Cashmere Gardens and the Greater Fifth Ward, we're focusing on that community. We're focusing on Acres Home. We're focusing in on Sunnyside. Fort Bend. There are 10 that we have identified to approach in a very concentrated way to build these communities up. And why am I passionate about it? Because many of you know my story. I grew up in Acres Home, like one of these communities. I come out of a family where neither one of my parents graduated from high school. Dad died early of cancer. Mom was a maid at the Rice Hotel downtown. Didn't graduate from high school, never learned how to drive. I don't fault her. I'm not being negative about my mama, because my mama was the CEO of the Turner household. Anytime a mother by herself, without a high school degree, never learned how to drive, can rear 9 kids by herself, she can rear 9 kids by herself, and one of those 9 now happened to be the mayor of the 4th largest city in the United States. She did something right. But my mama told me, never forget from which you have come. And my mama said to me, Sylvester, you will never, never sell my house in Acres Home. And she said, because one of my children, or great kids, or great kids, may need a place to stay. This is our home. And even when I leave here, this home will remain in the Turner household. She said, Sylvester, you will never sell my home. And I'm counting on you to keep that house at 30 or 5. You know my brother is living at that home right now. My mama passed just before I announced to run for mayor this last time. And so for communities just like that, we need to build these communities up. And lastly, I'll say this. Who is your mayor matters. Who's your mayor matters. Now, I've got a guy spending $10 million against me. $10 million. I didn't say one. $10 million. Saying a whole lot of stuff. Making a whole lot of noise. Just like that guy in D.C. A whole lot of noise. And folks said, Mayor, are you worried about it? Let me just say this, and I'm taking my seat. I didn't get here by myself. I didn't get here by myself. But I also believe that when you exercise your right to vote, that is your voice. We may not have $10, $20 million. But the good news about the vote is that when you go in and vote, my vote is just as important as anybody else's. It's only when you don't vote do you give somebody the advantage. Now, let me ask. I know many of you have already early voted, but by a show of hands, and just be honest, you still got time to vote. How many have not voted yet? Haven't voted yet. Just be honest, you haven't voted yet. Raise them up real high, because I want to look at you very carefully. Because when I pray, I want to know who I'm praying for. Lord, I'm praying for all these people who raised their hands who haven't voted yet. Let me ask you to exercise your right to vote. And do it today. Tomorrow is the last day to early vote. Tuesday is the very last day to vote, period. But let me say to you, I know this is not the presidential race where everybody go and line around the poll waiting to vote on the president. But just like you got a Trump there, you got one running here. Don't wake up on November 6th and wonder why things happen the way they happen. Please exercise your right to vote. And I'll close with this. I go to the same barbershop that I've been going to for 40 years, right there on West Montgomery in Utah. Sister Haywood. I've been going to her for 40 years. I go on Friday mornings early or in between stops in the evening. I was there on an early morning on a Friday. This senior citizen came to the barbershop. She said, Mayor Turner, is that you in the chair? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, they told me you come here on Friday mornings. I've been coming, but I finally caught you. She said, Mayor Turner, I just believe if I told you my story, you could help me. She said, I've been living in a house that's in bad shape. She said, Mayor Turner, it's in bad shape. It's in bad shape. I think you can help this little old lady. She was in her early 80s. She told me her story. We went and looked at her house. It was in bad shape. I told my people at the city, I want her out of the house. Let's get her out the house. It doesn't make any sense for her to be in this house, and it's in bad shape. 2.5 months later, I'm back in the barbershop. And here comes Miss Milkins in the barbershop. And she said, Mayor Turner, is that you in that chair? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, is there a problem? She said, no, I didn't just come to talk to you. I came to talk to everybody else in this barbershop. She said, if y'all don't vote for Mayor Turner, God gonna get all of y'all. She said, I want y'all to know I'm in a brand new apartment. and my house is being torn down and being rebuilt. And she said, my dog Billy in the new apartment hopped on the table in the new apartment and started barking. And she said, Billy was saying, Mama, we're in a brand new place and we don't have to run away from these critters anymore. Let me tell you something. When a dog knows that he's in a better place and willing to bark and say, it has been better, if you don't exercise your right to vote, be careful, you may not recognize what you had until it's gone. And nobody else can represent you better than you representing yourself. My name is Sylvester Turner. I am your mayor, and I am asking you for your vote.